Now, what the letter that you received said is, because you made that decision prior to June 14th or prior to June 14th, you can revoke what you did or do a rescission, and that allows you to go back to the same plan that you had with Blue Cross Blue Shield at the time of the renewal. If you do that, as of January 1st, if you do that, you at that point in time would be considered grandfathered again.
What about the differential of cost between now and then? And because when we did our self-fund change, it was about $100 per plan. What happens?
You go back to the rate that you saw at your renewal. You know, so you're
going backwards, or from the time that you decide forward?
From the time that you decided. Like I said, if you do a rescission and go back to what you had.
Is that retroactive to the last renewal?
No.
Or is that?
As of January 1st of 2011.
Okay. So
January 1st, 2011. Yeah, it's not going backwards. It's January 1st. But you have to say, you know, for $100, 1 to 3%, they're getting better benefits. You've got to weigh everything out because you don't have an issue with discrimination here.
No.
You know, just talked to a group this morning that they only offered it to management and supervisors. You know, so yeah, they had a problem with discrimination. You don't have that problem. So you're saying, okay, we're adding benefits. Now, when we get to 2014, there's supposed to be exchanges like government-run healthcare programs. And people at that point in time, if they're not grandfathered, can decide to go to these exchanges instead of staying on the group plan, and then you as a group have to pay premium to these exchanges if that's what they choose. So that's, but again, we've got to get to 2014. I think we need to worry about what we're doing today and, you know, the impacts down the road. You're just going to have to deal with it.
Year to year.
You know, we're anticipating if 30% of our groups, and we think that's a high number, stay grandfathered, that is a high number. So, I mean, I understand your concern, Rack-On. You really are grandfathered because the employees have seen no changes. I understand that. I'm just telling you from our legal standpoint what our legal area and their outside counsel has given us. And I can't change that right now.
I understand that.
I know.
I really do. And I knew that would be your position, but I totally disagree for those reasons.
Yeah, personally, I totally disagree too. Personally.
So we have till January 1st to decide whether we want to.
Not really, do you?
You know, you have until probably early December to decide.
Is that a fair date?
Yeah, that's a fair date.
Okay.
You know, the first week in December. That's a fair
Whether we
date.
want to go rescind our change and go back to
Right.
where they were prior to.
I mean, if you sign that form and say you want to rescind, that doesn't, I would advise you to sign it and do that just so we get the rates, which should be the same as your July renewal. But that does not say you have to do that. It just sets the wheels in motion. So you're not last minute, we're not last minute.
And it's hard, I guess this isn't our line of expertise, but you, if I step back and think about the big picture, we certainly shouldn't be the only ones that are doing a self-fund who didn't change benefits.
No, I'm sure I'm sure you're not. I'm sure you're not. But then there's some people also that if you've changed contribution levels that the employees paid by more than 5%, that throws you out of grandfather. So there's so many components to this that make it up that, you know, I've already talked to some groups that say have the rescission like you do, that can rescind it, but they're saying for the premium difference, no, we're not even going to mess with it. And actually, our employees are getting a better benefit. Maybe if they go and have a physical and don't have any co-pays, maybe you'll see more getting physicals, more things caught earlier. You know, you can look at that from that point as well.
That's a good consideration because of the projected rate increase. I mean, the 1 to 3 for that's probably a pretty good trade. If it were higher than that, it's not.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see preventative activity.
Right.
It's like a colonoscopy preventative.
As long as it's coded as routine physical exam, yes. You know, that's huge.
And those, again, are, what effect does that have on our self-fund?
Well, then you would not be paying out of your self-fund. You
So
would
it
have no
saves money.
exposure to
It's
yourself.
direct.
So it would save money from that.
It'd keep us intact.
Uh-huh.
You know, like physicals, colonoscopies, cardio, some of that.
Yeah,
Heart-
we will be
heart,
sending out,
stuff's
or
expensive.
it's on our website, we do have a whole listing of what is covered under routine, and it's a
That'd be a
pretty
good thing to-
extensive list.
Good thing to know what is.
I will email it to you.
Yeah, you guys
Send
could-
it out with paychecks.
You guys could take a big hit.
Well, we're saying we can't do this without a rate impact. But on the other end, you're right, it will offset some of your dollars that you use out of your partial self-funding.
And that was one of my first questions is, are those all going back to the self-fund, or are you responsible for them?
No,
You've answered that.
No, Blue Cross is responsible.
Blue Cross is responsible. So that makes a difference to me.
Still, we probably should call, check, get approval before we do it. Preventative, anything preventative, are you supposed to call Blue Cross?
Yeah,
Okayed? Don't they do that at the hospital?
They handle all of that, you don't have to do that. But like I said, there's a pretty extensive list of what is considered preventative. It goes down to your immunizations. So I will get
I'd
that to
certainly
you.
be interested in
Okay.
seeing
Yeah,
that
we
list.
just released that list late last week, so I will get that to you, Joe.
Okay.
And so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's confusing, but it's not, you know, it may be a very nice benefit to have on there.
Are you limiting the raise to, and then you're gonna nail us next year?
Yeah.
Get out
Yeah,
there.
do you want to answer that?
And, yeah, the good thing.
Yeah, if you cancel your provider, then you're grandfather. That's,
Do you see
I wonder who
this
had a
gray
hand
hair?
in that.
How many years have I been here? Have I gotten grayer?
We've gotten grayer too, right along.
Nothing's easy anymore, guys.
Well, it's